Welcome everyone. This is an introduction to electron structure in terms of SPD notation. I will also explain what is meant by key terms such as orbital, shell and subshell. The content is relevant to A-level chemistry students and BTEC level 3 applied science students. Electron structure is sometimes called electron configuration and shows the location of electrons in an atom. Electron structure can help to explain how different atoms react. Nothing that you were taught about electron configuration at GCSE was wrong. However, the model is more detailed at A level. A lot of the theory explaining this detail is complicated. However, you do not need to describe this theory in order to answer exam questions. Electrons have very little mass, a charge of -1, are constantly moving, and are found around the nucleus of an atom. You were probably taught this at GCSE, and this is still the case at A level. At GCSE, the planetary model of atoms is used. This is also called the Bohr model, named after the scientist Niels Bohr. You still need to be aware of this model of the atom at A level. At A level, we use SPD notation to describe the regions where electrons exist in more detail. You may need to go over this topic many times until you are comfortable with it. Start by trying to learn the definitions. You can get most marks in exams by memorizing key facts. Go over lots of examples. There are more electron configuration questions on this channel. Links are in the description. An orbital is a region defined by probability that can contain up to 2 electrons with opposite spin. A subshell is a collection of orbitals of the same type, either s, p or d. An s subshell is made up of 1 orbital, a p subshell is made up of 3 orbitals, and a d subshell is made up of 5 orbitals. It is not possible to know exactly where an electron is at any given time, but that does not mean that we have no idea where an electron might be. Think about a shoal of fish. Like electrons, the fish are constantly moving. Focus on the purple fish in the center. We don't know exactly where each fish will be at a point in time in the future, but it is much more likely that the purple fish will stay with the other fish within the shoal. It is much less likely that the purple fish will move outside of the shoal. In this case, the shoal represents a three-dimensional region that the fish is likely to be in. An orbital is a three-dimensional shape that can contain up to 2 electrons. You need to know the shapes of s orbitals and p orbitals. An s orbital is a sphere. A p orbital is described as having a dumbbell shape. There is 1 orbital in an s subshell. There are 3 orbitals in a p subshell. As you can see, the location of electrons around the nucleus of an atom is much more complicated than you will have seen at GCSE. You only need to know that an orbital is a region. You may be asked to draw the shapes of s and p orbitals. You will not be asked to describe the shape of d orbitals. The diagram represents an atom with 2 full shells of electrons. The grey sphere is a 1s orbital and contains 2 electrons. The orange regions represent electrons in the second shell. The orange sphere contains 2 electrons and represents a 2s orbital. There are 3 dumbbell-shaped orbitals. These are p orbitals. The total number of electrons in the p orbitals in the second shell is 6. From the periodic table, sodium has an atomic number of 11. There are 11 electrons in each atom of sodium. From GCSE, you will remember that electron shells are filled before moving into the next shell. A maximum of 2 electrons fit in the first shell, a maximum of 8 fit in the second shell. The electron configuration of sodium can be written as 2.8.1 using this model. In this diagram, Each box represents an orbital, and each group of boxes represents a subshell. Subshells are grouped in energy levels. We will look at the third and fourth energy levels in more detail in a future video. Diagrams like this can be used to show the electron configuration of different atoms. The number indicates the energy level, the letter relates to the type of subshell. Let's complete the electron configuration for sodium. An arrow is used to represent one electron. The arrow can point up or down. This indicates the spin on the electron. Remember that each atom of sodium has a total of 11 electrons. I have put the first electron in the lowest energy subshell, the 1s subshell. Electrons in the same orbital must have opposite spin. The second arrow must point down. The first energy level is now full, and we have to move up to the 2s subshell with the next 2 electrons. Now the 1s and 2s subshells are full. We move on to the 2p subshell. There are 3 orbitals in a p subshell. We must put a single electron in each orbital in the same subshell before we add the second electron with opposite spin. Next, we add 3 more electrons to the p subshell. These arrows must point down to show that each orbital is spin paired. We have now accounted for 10 electrons. Remember that each atom of sodium has 11 electrons. Let's put the final electron in. The electron configuration for sodium is now complete. You could be asked to complete similar diagrams of electron configuration in exams. More often, exam questions require you to get the shorter version. For example, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Let's compare the two models. In both cases, there are 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 in the second, and 1 in the third. However, SPD notation gives more detail about the types of subshell that are present and how many electrons are in each subshell. Pause the video and see if you can complete the answer to this question. It's the same as the previous example, but I've swapped sodium for calcium. The atomic number of calcium is 20. Each atom of calcium contains 20 electrons. The shorthand electron configuration in SPD notation is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. The big number is the principal quantum number and relates to the shell where the electron is found. The lowercase letter refers to the subshell and is either S, P or D. A superscript number is used to state how many electrons are in that particular subshell. Here's a comparison of the electron structure of sodium and calcium using the Bohr model and SPD notation. Remember, the number of electrons in each shell is the same using both models. SPD notation gives more detail about the types of subshell present and how many electrons are in each subshell. Well done, you are almost at the end of this video. There are many complicated ideas here. Don't be concerned if you find this topic confusing at first. Before you move on with your study of electron configurations, you have to be familiar with the definitions of orbital and subshell. Learn the shapes of an s orbital and a p orbital. You could be asked to sketch these in exams. Finally, try to memorize the order of filling of shells: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p6. Thanks for watching. There are links in the description to electron structure exam question walkthroughs. I will explain why atoms of copper and chromium don't fit the usual order of filling of shells in another video. This is the 100th video that I have made. If you like the content, please think about subscribing to this channel. As always, post in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions. Good luck with your studies and take care.